So we met back in 1995 through some friends of ours, and we had no idea about each other, but yet we found out later that they had been plotting to get us together for quite a while.
Yeah, I ended up telling one of the groomsmen that was in the wedding with me that I was going to marry that girl. And lucky she didn't know that till after we got married, because we may not be sitting here now. I'm Jeff, this is my wife Gina Keeley, and this is our story.
Going into a marriage, you have a lot of expectations, and for me personally, I had come from some abusive relationships and both of us come from a divorced family, so I think me personally brought a lot of baggage into the marriage that I didn't even know I had. And so my expectation level was that he's going to fix me, he's going to make me happy, and he's going to be this knight in shining armor and this prince. And quickly I realized that it was not what I had imagined. It wasn't the fairy tale that I thought it was going to be. We moved immediately, and so when we moved, he started a new job and he was working a lot and traveling a lot. And so I was alone in a place that I knew nobody. I had no job, I had no friends. Jeff took a promotion and we moved to Myrtle Beach. And it was better at first. I got a job and it was okay, and we had a neighborhood, so we were, meeting some people. So I felt a little bit better, but yet his job still took him away. He would drive and be gone 2 weeks at a time and just come home every other weekend. And that was not what I signed up for. And I slowly started to resent pretty much everything. And I would almost go as far as saying, even regretting that we got married at one point, because that was just not the life I wanted. I don't think I right away thought, I'm gonna get divorced because I don't want this anymore. I started going out with friends and trying to find out what people at work were doing. What can I do to fill my time? There happened to be a man at work who would hear our conversations on the phone, and he'd peek around the corner and he would say things like, are you okay? Can I do anything? And I had no idea what was happening. I looked at it as, this is a really great friend. He cares about us. So one day Jeff came home and said that that he was gonna take a job promotion and that we were gonna have to move to Maryland. And immediately my wall went up and I'm like, wait a minute, I just got here. I just started feeling like I can breathe again. I have people in my life again. That person may not be you right now, but I have people in my life and I cannot be uprooted again, and I can't do this again. My parents were at our house, and Jeff's parents were at our house as well. And I specifically chose that day to let him know that I wanted a divorce.
I didn't receive it very well, to say the least. There's probably still a dent in the side of the house from actually hearing this. For me, the first time, because I was looking at progressing forward, and at that moment, I didn't know what to do. So what I knew to do was what had worked previously for me, which was continue going forward. I had to keep up with the people I was competing with that had no idea I was competing with.
I got to a point where I began to not care that I was still legally married, and my relationship with the other man started to progress. And within a few short months after Jeff leaving, it became a full-on affair. And I was with this man and I thought for sure that this was the greatest thing and that I was going to marry him and that everything was going to be exactly the way I had planned it was 3 years prior when I married Jeff. I was so torn by everything that I was feeling and all of the things that we were going through. And I was contemplating suicide that night, and I was flipping channels, and an old Billy Graham crusade was on TV, and I stopped and I listened, and then I got down on my face that night, and I can't remember what I said, but I cried for Jesus,
and I just wanted him to do something. I didn't even know what I wanted, just something. Fix this, do something. A couple of days later, I met up with some of the friends that I was going to church with, and we went to a church conference type thing. It was just like a 1-hour thing, and there was some music. And they did a salvation message there as well. And it was there that I also heard the full salvation message that was very similar to what Billy Graham was talking about. And it clicked that I had given my life to Jesus that night in my living room. And it was then that I realized that throughout this entire situation, I was selfish and everything was about me. Never once did I consider what he was going through. I wasn't sure exactly at that time what I was supposed to do. But I knew the more I learned about Jesus, the more that I realized that where I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I didn't know that I was supposed to be back with Jeff at that point, but I did start getting more involved in the church that I was going to, and I joined a life group. And I'd never in my life met a group of people who accepted me exactly the way I was.
At this point, I would make trips from Baltimore back to Myrtle Beach, and we would visit, and I would go to this life group. And it was amazing to me that I met a bunch of strangers that were so accepting and loving and didn't care what was going on. There was a level of engagement that I was not accustomed to from strangers. So it was really the backbone of what made me comfortable to look at this and give it a second chance. We went to 4 services on Easter Sunday, and it took 4 services for me to actually listen to God. Some people may call that stubborn. I just wanted to be sure. And the great part about it is God meets you where you are. So in the 4th service, he gave a salvation message. The pastor said, anybody that would like to accept Christ, please, come forward. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, God, I'm not going to walk down that walkway. And if you want me, come and get me. And he did, because the pastor followed up with, I know there's someone sitting in a chair that wants Jesus. And I was like, what? Are you talking to me? And at that moment, I felt like everybody that was around me just disappeared. And it was just me. And I raised my hand, and it was overwhelming at that point. But he came at me that day. That weekend was not about us. It was not about our marriage. That was about me coming to know Jesus.
We had to work through what had happened, and we had to build trust again, and we had to learn to love each other again, and in a different way, and we had to learn how to communicate better.
This coming May, it will be 22 years that we've been married. Is it easy? No. Satan will find every little foothold to try to get in at you. But you have to recognize that, and you have to know where to turn. And that's what I had to do. I had to, when I had those negative thoughts and feelings, I needed to know who to give them to, because I couldn't handle them. If I relied on me, I would still be in Maryland.
Marriage is about commitment. Love comes and goes. Yeah, love is great, and we love each other. We're in love with each other still, but it's the commitment that we have made to each other that what happened in the past is not going to happen again. We both, as I mentioned earlier, come from divorced families, and we both feel like that is a generational curse in both of our families. And one of the things that we decided through our relationship with Jesus and in getting back together is that that curse ends with us and that it will not be passed down to any future generations in our family. We're done. We're done with that one, Satan. We're done.
The D word can't come up.
We can't talk about it.
It's not
It's not an
relevant.
option. It's not an option.